Welcome to the MikePhelanCoaching.com podcast. Today, we're going to look at detail of specific positions on the football field. This particular episode is going to look at midfield play. And as you can see around the set, it's adorned with some fantastic shirts donated by one of our sponsors, Classic Football Shirts. Zidane, Gundogan, Bellingham, Foden. I'm sure there's plenty of fruit for discussion there. I've got Mike Phelan and Paul McGuiness with me again. And also thanks to Burnley Football Club in the community for the facility and the set that we're using today. And also their players. We are going to bring this podcast into action. It is action as well as words. And hopefully we're going to be able to show you how to actually do and deliver some of these things as coaches. So without further ado, pretty contemporary issue right now. Jude Bellingham, Real Madrid player, England player, just turned 21, world at his feet. A lot of pressure on him, although he states that he's enjoying that pressure. Who is he, Mick?
Well, he's an exceptionally good talent that is actually just showing, all the good that he's got in his game. There are weaknesses in his game, of course. He's young, he's 21, he's still learning. But he's been thrust into the limelight now, and he's probably learning through doing and learning through mistakes, but honest mistakes. But what he's got definitely is, look at his physique, look at his position, look at the authority he commands already within the game as a young kid. And there's been lots of those types of players along the line, but he has an attitude of a willingness to work and learn, and that over the next few years is going to be top priority for him.
I saw on a recent podcast, when you were at Manchester United, you went to watch him at Birmingham City, and you said he was man of the match in 3 different positions. Can you give us a bit of detail? Did he change as he went in each position? Was it a generic?
One thing that stayed with him was his approach and his attitude to the game. That didn't alter. His mentality was really strong. His ability was there for everybody to see, but he did adapt to each position. What he brought to the game was his enthusiasm and his limited understanding of what was required. And when you see that enthusiasm, you see that application and the command that he had, even I think he was 16 then, the command he had in the championship over his teammates was up there with some of the greats, even at that age. And I was impressed just by his whole approach to the game, and his attributes have grown in the last 4 years, 5 years now, and he's still a lot more there. He's nowhere near the finished product, but he has got a lot to give.
Paul, you've just been out to the Euros. You've seen him play. What were you seeing live in a stadium?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a massive personality of football, like superstar in the making. Well, not just in the making. He's already done that. He's won the European Cup. He's top scorer in Spain and so on. Player of the Year. It's incredible to be happening so young. But I think back to people I've known. Norman Whiteside, youngest player ever in a World Cup, youngest goal scorer in the League Cup, the FA Cup, the so on. Such an incredible player at a young age. Nothing fazed them. Gaza was the same in that sense. Maybe he did come on the scene young as well. But then you're into Rooney. Rooney at the Euros was incredible. No fear. He's just like, he's playing back in the park with his mates, and that's what I love about Bellingham. He's got what I call the spirit of football, but also these guys have an edge, an unbelievable edge to them that is about being winners and so on. But like Mick says, he's only 20, so this 21. There's lots of things for him to learn, and I think this will be a learning process for him now when he reflects on it, the Euros and how we might do better, but also. They're in the semi-final. How do they do better? But of course, for these type of players, they want to learn from everything, and he'll want to learn from what's happened in the Euros, as well as the season he's had. But part of that is, I think, as well, he must be shattered. I think there's part of that in his performances. He's tired. He's a bit leggy.
He's kept going right through,
but then he has that ability to score that, score the goal that nobody thinks you can score, score the overhead kicks, come in and power the header in and so on. But he's still, looking in 5 years' time, you'll see he'll be better at positional play, he'll be better at timing, he'll be better at understanding the other players in the team, all these things. Yeah.
One of the beauties
just when you ask that, you've both made, this is a top player. You two have worked at the top level. It's something that's interesting me is the way that you're both enthused about what he's got to learn, where he's going to go and what's coming next. What does that look like?
Well, I've been coaching 40 years and I'm still learning. So, having played the game and coached it and managed for a small period of time.
Does he have weaknesses really about some things getting even better?
Well, you can see in his physique, his physical structure is strong. So the foundation within that physical part of his game is going to stay with him, and probably improve, probably will get stronger. The understanding of the game and what he brings to the game, not just individually, but what can he bring for the collective? Can he bring other people into his game and his environment? These are the types of things that only experience gives you. So I would think he's hungry and he has to smell it and he has to feel it, and he does that day in, day out training. But in the competitions, it's different. It's different in the competition because you don't get it all your own way. So he'll learn through all these competitions he's going through, what is required and when it's required. And, is it that individual bit of brilliance, which all teams have got and all nations have got? Or is it, no, this is one of those games where I have to be on top of my game in order to bring the best out of others? So there's lots of elements for him to learn over a period of time. That just doesn't happen overnight. And I think, like Paul was really spoke well there about every time he takes the field is a massive learning curve for him. And the difference between him and others is he's willing to open himself up to that learning proposition. And it is a hard one because, yes, he might feel as though he's got all the ingredients, but it's how we use that and when do we use that in the right moments in a football match. So that will come through doing more practices, more listening, more learning, more analysing. And he's capable of that, which is great.
Yeah, I think a big thing there is like when you're young, you've had the season he's had, it's like, yeah.
That was baby Bellingham.
I'll leave you with them. Yeah.
Right, great.
Yeah, no, I think he really is. For Bellingham, it's like, okay. Yeah, for Bellingham, it's the season he's had. It's like it's almost like it's impossible. He must think he's Superman in lots of ways. That feeling, and which is fantastic. But at the same time, that can lead to things like I think sometimes he's trying too hard. He's trying to get everywhere where the ball is and trying to make an impact all the time, and then sometimes getting frustrated by that. And I remember myself being a young player and the coach saying to me, "You're too enthusiastic. You're chasing the ball. You're over." I remember thinking, what is he talking about? Absolute idiot. I'm doing more work than all these others put together, sort of thing. But when you get a little bit older, you realise like some great, and this was Norman Whiteside said this to me when he was only very young, so he was an old head on young shoulders. He said, sometimes you have to stand still to create space. So play on the opposite side of the pitch sometimes. So instead of going over chasing the number 10 to where the ball is, stay on the blind side. Stay on the opposite inside left or inside right channel. Now you're blind side, now you wait for the ball to come to you. But sometimes it doesn't come to you, so you get frustrated. But also, when you're running for the ball, there's not a clear contrast for the passer to see when you want it. So if Mick's marking me and I run with the ball, he runs with me. Now, when do you want it? Because the defender's going to see it at the same time. So better to stand still, eye contact, and a quick run for the ball. And that's the signal. So little things like that, and it also saves your energy, but also makes it clearer for the passer. So all these little tiny details, and sure will come. I'm not saying he doesn't know some of those things already, but they're the type of things as you get more experience, positional play. But you got to remember, he's 21. Zidane, we're talking about, he didn't play, I don't think, till he was 22. He didn't start playing for France. He didn't play for Juventus till he was 24. Now he's been at Real Madrid in 2020, so it's huge what he's doing already. And players like that. Remember, someone who's played maybe the second striker that he's been playing for England, Teddy Sheringham, didn't come to Man United till he was 29. And now at that point, Teddy's got it all sorted out. His positional play, timing, and so on. So that's why he's going to be a great player because he's already doing great things. But when he gets that experience and those little details,
the greatest exponent in modern day football is standing still, Lionel Messi. He's brilliant at it, absolutely brilliant at it. And he exploits spaces when probably his team is defending. He's in great positions, but he walks into those positions. He stands still. When he gets the ball, he comes alive. But that is a skill. That is a skill. And as coaches, we tend to fall into the trap sometimes of we always want to pass and move beyond the move all the time. Now, that's good in certain situations, but sometimes you've got to relax and just sit in a position and let your teammate find you with the ball. That's the important thing. And then when the ball comes to you, now you go and join in, because we hear it all the time and we see it, and we're all culpable of this as coaches. Is pass the ball, run, get forward, get back, and then when we look at it, we get sort of we put ourselves into a bad mood because he's not moving and he's stood still and all that. But actually, standing still is a great thing to do sometimes, as long as the ball comes to you or your teammates can handle that. And then away you go from there.
And that's not just any sport. I remember Michael Carrick on his pro licence, he interviewed some of Dan Carter and Owen Farrell from the England rugby fly half. And he said the same thing. He said, when I was younger, I was after everywhere. I wanted to be at every breakdown. I wanted to smash into people. He said, but after a bit, he said, I realised if I ran slower to the breakdown, I could see and take in more of the play, more of the overall game than the actual being on the ball and doing it. So that's we do
practices. We set practices up where it's top speed all the time, and there's no change in direction, there's no change in speed. But the game isn't all about speed. It's about when to jog, when to take a sprint, when to be sort of inactive. There are all these things. So a game of football, or your part in the game of football, is not that. It's more. We're going on these type of trajectories, and it's having that ability to understand what comes when.
Yeah. And Dave, I think that's when we talk about Foden. Where's Foden? He's on this.
There is Phil.
I remember Pep Guardiola saying, he's going to play more on the wide because in the middle he doesn't know yet how to change the rhythm. So he's coming all quick off the side and everything's quick, and he's a young player, he wants to go fast. And sometimes it's about getting in the rhythm, getting the opposition into a certain rhythm before you change the rhythm. It's the changes, the transition from one speed or direction to another that can sometimes change it. And in that sense, the other one was he's Gundogan. For me, he's brilliant at that because he's not so quick. He has to do it off stealth, off drawing you in, sucking you in, then changing the speed, or doing it with a little bit of movement off your eye line, all those sort of things. Whereas Foden, because he wants to do what he's really good at all the time. And I suppose he's lucky player of the year, Foden, this year, isn't he? So he's obviously captured that and started to change that in his game to get that change of rhythm and speed. Because if you're always going at one speed, you're easier to stop, but if you change your speed and go again, then that's more disruptive to the defender.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, it's all about connecting with others. What is your strength is speed might not connect to the next guy in your team who can't keep up with you. Do you know what I mean? And we've all seen that in our coaching careers and players. Yeah, fast, run like the wind, but where's the product? Where's the end product? Yeah, they can run, but can they connect with others? Can they get that final pass?
Yeah. That connection.
Can they take a breath now?
Connection is key, really. And I think it was Thierry Henry on an interview, wasn't he? He was talking about, he was doing all his moves at Arsenal, and then he said some of the top games, sometimes he couldn't get the ball. And Wenger actually said to him, well, look, you've got to actually understand who it is that's on the ball. So it might be Pires will play a pass through, but Ljungberg wants a 1-2 in a combination, and somebody else is different. And that's an important thing. As you get older, you start to say, well, who am I playing with and how do I link with them? So I think years ago, Gary Lineker would say, well, Beardsley was the best number 10 he had because he dropped off and played him through. And you think of good partnerships. And partnerships are important. How does a team balance itself with good partnerships? Neville and Beckham at Man United over the years, different players in different teams. And I think that's the role of the number 10 a lot of the time, is not just to be the finaliser of the move like Bellingham at the moment, is to also look at, who does he provide for? How do you provide for Kane? How do you provide for the wingers or what have you? Say Kane at Spurs dropping deep and having Son to run in behind. So probably in the Euro,
there's a great difference between the two. Bellingham, you know, one obviously is older than the other, but he's more experienced in the role that he plays. They're very similar in positions. Yet you've got a youthful sort of Bellingham who's got the legs and the running power, which is not necessarily everything, but you've got the brains of a Gundogan who's been there, seen it and done it, and worked in this environment for numerous years, and he's learned about when to release the ball, when not to, when to create space for others. And these are all things that you can bring together over a period of time. And it is over a period of time. And I think partly when you look at club and international level, club level is time. It's time. You know, you can do things, you can connect, you can make these partnerships. At international level, you've got great players, but they see each other every so often. And really, there isn't a lot of connection going on there because you're looking at competition, a game every 3-4 days. Then you're looking at getting together in a camp for 4 days. All these things don't form great connections unless you get them together. Whereas club level, you can. You know, it'd be interesting to put them together, those two players, you know, and see how one can learn from the other. Because that happens sometimes in coaching. You put more of an old head with a younger one and just see how the interaction happens.
Well, exactly that point with, if you think of Man City, over that time, how clear all the positions are and how the connections are. So Gundogan, while he would be there, would be, you know, he would be connected with Foden. And a lot of the time, Gundogan would be either coming off on an angle to receive the ball or to pull the defender out of a space so the ball could go to the forward.
It was a foil. But he understood that role. He understood the role. And these are the types of things, when you talk about a Bellingham and a Gundogan, these are the things that he can gain experience in by looking at that, analysing that. And not only is he a top player, but he's a top thinker of the game now for his team. And I think that's a really important concept to get over time.
Just trying to get a bit more information for the coaches and the viewers out there that are watching this. Bellingham's been compared to Zidane. We had a chat off camera prior. I think that's an easy comparison simply because he's got the number 5 on his back. But you feel there's a comparison with Kaka there in terms of Bellingham's probably got some of the abilities, qualities, attributes that he had when he was at Madrid. Could you possibly explain that a bit for us, Paul?
Yeah, I think everybody's different types of players. Zidane, you know, could do dribble, turn, control the game and so on. Bellingham do a lot of those things. I mean, people talk about, you know, Kaká when he was with Milan. He definitely played at Old Trafford one time and scored a couple of unbelievable goals. But what he did, it's different ways of playing as a number 10 or off the striker, depending on your attributes. So I don't know if we bring this in. Let's see if this will work. Let's see. So if you've got a back four, say you've got a defence in around here, and we'd be saying if there's a forward, and then there is maybe the number 10, maybe they're up here. You've got the midfield. Might be a midfield 3, forwards, whatever, and they've maybe got wide players, and they're saying, well, where are they gonna get through against that defence? I'd be on the ball here, someone. Well, how are they going to get through? So if you might have a number 10 who's like a Tevez or someone like that, who's just going to come off here. He's going to wait to the last minute and see if he can get that pass off here and turn and play a 1-2 or so on. Whereas someone like Kaká, what he would do, he'd be more to this edge of what the people say, oh, they're in the hole. So if he could receive that pass here, he's quick and now he's running at you. Because if you're just on this edge, well, the defender, the centre-backs, he doesn't want to come out of that space and leave this space here. He doesn't want to come out there early. And he's also thinking, well, he's got him maybe. You know, and it might well be David Silva used to do this as well. David Silva would be in here, but then all of a sudden he just backpedal 2 yards, and now he's here. Now, if you're talking about gaining advantage in flow, he's blocked his flow, he's passed him, but he's also now got time. Whereas if he comes out, now he's going to play around him and so on. He's more likely to play in, so now he can run, he can play 1-2s and so on. But if he was stood, say, just waiting here, in the middle of that space, he can read it. So he's sort of half ready. He's alerted him. So now he plays and he can get to him. So it's sometimes, even say that's the 3 strips of the space there, 1, 2, 3. If he receives it there and he's a running type player, by Bellingham he gets a bit of space to run at them. And to be fair, Bellingham's good into him as well. He can have it here. But then you might have forwards who might play around the corner and play here, like a Rooney could do that, or he could turn. But yeah, people like Silva and Gundogan and little some of those players, Foden does that. Probably learn off Silva, and he picks it up in this position, but he's got space to run at you. And if the defender does come, well, now there's another space here, that's been created. He's created a vacuum of space.
We talk about connections, and we talked about that before, and the same thing happens. There's a connection between guy on the ball, guy in here, but also the connection with this to create the space for him to operate. Because if he's too far in, it's an easy decision to defend narrow. But if he opens up a little bit, there's an issue. There's an issue, and he may even come back to there. He may even come into that position. So now not only is that a problem for him and a problem for these two, who's going to... So he steps out, pass goes in. If he stays inside, yes, you've got that, but then he can come. Now it's a different... So now you're talking about combinations.
And this is, again, where that sort of run through that checklist to have, positioning. So the ball's coming across maybe to this centre-back. And as it's coming across, he's blindside of him. He's sort of there. But just now, the signal is just that little back pedal. And that might be enough. Now, he might come back. But if he does, he's maybe opened that one up. So he's creating the little spaces that goes in there. And that Gundogan was brilliant at that as well, So it might well be he comes in short. Now, does he get on it? Now, if he comes here, now it's that little bounce pass. And he's looking to get this pass, or back here. Man City done that for years, and now the wide man's making, these wide men are making these runs through because they've hit it off the striker, who's also sort of made that more space by coming short. So that sort of, if we took everybody else out of there, we just took everybody else out for a little bit. This is a good exercise. Could even do it on the centre circle. We might do it on the centre circle. So there's a ball there. Here's a defender. He's there. Here's the striker you want to get it to. If he comes here, he can get on the ball and play forward. But the defenders block that. If he now comes to it, if he now comes off quick, so he doesn't want to be running all the time, he just wants a quick run. If he comes with him, now that can go there and he can come off it. If he does a bit of both, the defender, to hedge his bets, he comes late to him here, he can just drag him here, play there, and then maybe run again. If he runs and he's looking, he's got the ball, he might check back across to get the ball there, maybe.
Fantastic information, really good, really educational detail for all our coaches and viewers out there. And what we're going to do, it's not just words, it's action. We're going to take this out onto the field and show you how it's done. We've got people who can walk the talk here. And that's what we're going to see next.